everyone. Today we're having a Survivor Connects with Jereé. I'm just going to send out an invite and wait for her to join. Oh. I'm just waiting on her to join. Now I'm gonna speak to people. This is gonna be our 29th Survivor Connect. Crazy that we've done so many. Hi, Maya. We are just waiting for Jereé to join. Let me send this to her. Hi, Ashwini. Oh, there you are. Invite her to join. Hi, Jereé. Hi. We are just waiting for. Okay. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Okay, so first let's start off by talking about what the Survivor Connects is. So hello, fellow survivors, colleagues, and friends. Today, Voices Beyond Us All is holding our 29th installment of the Survivor Connect series. This episode is hosted by me. My name is Sarah, and I'm the Associate Director of Community Engagement for Voices Beyond Assault. And I'm really excited to have you all here with us today. At VBA, we believe it is vital to create a community that is safe and compassionate to offer all survivors the opportunity to engage in a dialogue encompassing sexual assault and abuse. We want to continuously learn and educate ourselves on how to best provide for our community of survivors and believe that the Survivor Connect series is the perfect way to do so. Additionally, this discursive space is important for the survivors who do not wish to directly engage in this conversation but prefer to partake by listening. VBA wants every survivor to feel at ease during this experience and engage as freely and openly as they are comfortable with. We want to propose the Survivor Connect series as a way to fulfill all of these needs and maintain an open and holistic discussion, empowering and with people from all walks of life. Survivor Connect is about sharing, learning, empowering, and healing. At VBA, we are determined to unshackle our community of survivors from the trauma of sexual violence and ultimately heal as one. So, Jereé, would you be comfortable with discussing your experience of sexual assault or abuse?
I am.
Okay, just share as little or as much as you want.
So, the first assault I can remember was 8 years old, back in 90, I believe. And it came from a family friend, that was etched in kind of early in my life. Up until that point, I knew nothing about sexual assault. I can remember just feeling dull. I used to be like a joyous kid. And when that first touch happened, it numbed the life out of me. And it's like people don't understand when you are being groomed as a child into like this weird space in an adult's mind. I was 8, he was 18. This shouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah,
And so with that, it's like what goes through the mind of that person. And so with me, it's like from the age of 8 to 12, it was like very severe. I can remember at the age of 10 being in a room full of family and no one knew where I was because he kept me hidden because it was always a number of people around. And with that, it's just like the things that I remember that he made me do. And then at the age of 11, that's when he went for the real assault. I mean, there's assault, there's molestation, and then there's a bigger assault, which is rape. And so I remember laying on this cold floor while his hand was over my mouth while I'm crying. And that was like really a weird place. And it took a lot of healing. I literally did not heal from this entirely until I had a conversation with God back in 2017 or 18. And God told me, you need to be free, because people that are assaulted, like, you carry that, with you. And so, a lot of people don't understand if you've never been in that place, because I wish that on not even my worst enemy. When you hold that place, because I could just speak for myself. I told God I would never forgive this person, because I was in a stage where, what does an 18-year-old do at an 8-year-old? The sick and twisted minds of people.
Yeah.
And so when I initially sat down, I wrote a letter. I didn't remember the address because I was so young. And I just sent it off to that zip code. And I prayed. And I said, you know what? Because I have to detach myself. No matter what I do, the experience is there. But it's how we unify in our voices to impact other women, even families. Like, don't always be so quick to leave your child with someone just because, you want to go out or this and that, because what goes on behind closed doors is a deeper level of pain that no one could understand. So that's the basis of it.
Yeah, you never know what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, following what happened, were you able to comprehend what happened to you initially?
I did, after I came out of that place of being closed off, because I never knew what it was to be hidden inside of that dark place of yourself. I ran away after it happened. And to be honest, because I know a lot of people go through those thoughts, I contemplated suicide at the age of 11 because my world shifted. Even though all these other things were happening, like, I never knew what this was. I knew what he was doing initially was bad, and all the lies that they compile your mind in. Oh, if you tell someone I'm going to harm you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to you and your family. And it's like, okay, I believed it, but then it's just like when this happened, I felt numb. So I understood that something needed to be said, because he got married. And he trained my mind to believe that if anything happened, like if I got pregnant at a young age, that he would take me. He put all this damaging thoughts in my mind. When I turned 16, I have to rewind to let people understand that I have not been victimized, that will come across this message. So when abusers implant thoughts of impurity in a child's mind, it goes into the frontal cortex, and it never leaves unless you do the adjustment of, denouncing everything that they told you to do. And what I mean by denouncing this, you're not in that truth. Those are their lies, and you don't have to live the lie that they told you. So with that, it's like I had to build up a wall all those years, and then I had to tear it down. Literally,
It takes a lot of work to tear that down.
It's a lot of work. And so when I started to just deal with it, I would go back into that dark space because I wasn't ready. And so when I started to just gather my thoughts, like, I deserve to be happy, I deserve to be cleansed, I deserve to be out of this space, you start taking your power back. And people don't know what that looks like. It's not a power that you just tug onto. You have to do your work. And that's why I journaled, I stopped, and then I began to just like reach out to people. And I started speaking against it. This is why I'm so passionate about speaking and blogging. And you have to take time to reset yourself. And if you don't reset yourself, it's like you'll never know who you are, because this is one way that this can stifle you and can make you really go nuts. And if you let the assault stifle you, you'll never become the woman that you're meant to be, because it was something in them, not something in you, something in them that made them want to damage a younger person. Or it doesn't even have age on it. I'm just speaking for me. It can be a person that is 46 and does this to an elderly woman that lived an abundant life, and then her world is shattered. And then it's just like you got to pick up pieces of your life because somebody chose to abuse what was given already to you that's supposed to be pure. And when you look at it, I never had a choice to stay a virgin. I never had a choice to say, well, I want to just go do this. People take your choices away. And so with that, you got to regain your strength and everything. And if you don't regain your strength, it'll be like a never ending cycle of depression, of suicidal thoughts, of everything that's meant to derail you in life. So just for the women, whatever setting you're in your healing, take control back, but you have to go through the fire. If you do not go through the fire, you're never going to reach the purpose of your life. Even in this message, nobody wants to always say, hey, I survived this. But if you dim your light, yeah, it's ugly. Assault is very ugly. It's traumatic. Okay. It's dirty. People look at you funny for speaking out on it because they're like, hey, I had people, when I first started speaking out, oh, I don't want to be your friend no more because that's too much. That's private. Well, okay.
But that's a big part of your life.
Yeah, you'll get that, but then you'll want to help the people around you. And sometimes if you don't understand spirituality and God, you'll never understand the root of this thing. This can carry over in your family. Because when I started to dig, I understood that my grandmother got raped by her dad. My mother was sexually assaulted. And then it goes on. So you got to go into the deep realms of your family and break that generational curse. And everything is not always about religion because that's man-made. You have to have a true relationship with God in order to see where you are, in order to see how to break those things, because it's a cycle. Mm-hmm. If you ever know anything about bloodline curses, it's a cycle that you have to break. And so you have to minister to that thing, because there's good and there's bad. There's light and there's dark. And if you don't break the darkness that surrounds that, you'll be lost. You'll cry all the time. You'll intrude on other people's happiness. You'll think you're ready to be with somebody and you're not. So you have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to tell anyone initially, or at what point were you able to start talking about it?
So I ended up breaking the cycle by saying something to my mother at 12. I was done. And what made me done, it may sound weird to other people, it was already the coping mechanism that it was done to me. But when he laid his stepdaughter in the bed with me and did some things, I lost it, because you bringing another child into this. It was already wrong doing it to me.
Yeah.
But then when you realize something else is wrong and you go back in your head. I went back in my head a lot of times. Should I tell? What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And it's that level of fear that was still there. And when fear came in, I sank. And then when I sank and that happened, it's like this jealousy came, because, all these lies of he fed me, you're my girlfriend, you're this, you're that. Mm-hmm. It's like, and then those emotions come in. And if you ever been through something traumatic like that, you start to think that is normal now because it's been happening so long. So you go with the flow. He started to pick me up from school. Do you want to go back home and do this? And I'm thinking in my head, like, this is wrong, right? And so before I told my mom at 12, I told my older brother. My older brother put hands on him. He did something to him. My mother didn't know how to handle it. So she sent me to live with my sister, because she knew it happened to her. And so for all the parents that don't know how to deal with this, I want to tell the kids, don't blame your parents for not physically or emotional being there, because they have to deal with their own trauma. It took my mom a long time to deal with that trauma. And I was like, I didn't understand. But the way your parents are they'll parent you. Now, no diss to my mom, because she's no longer here. That's my baby. I love her. She did the best that she could. She taught me Jesus. She loved on me. But there was certain places that she could not be. She had to work. And she trusted the environment that I was in, because it wasn't, up until this point, it wasn't dangerous. We had freedom. We were able to go out. I was a radical little kid. I broke the rules and everything. I was 8 outside riding my bike, when I was in home. But then when something is like that, you don't have a pure escape anymore. You don't want to hang with people. You get closed in. And so for the parents that also have little girls or little boys, watch how they smile change, if at any time. Watch the people that they're around, because if it's okay if I speak to the Black community, because it goes like this. We hide it. We hide it so much. Like, oh, that didn't happen. A woman of color, if this is happening, her child tells her, you'll rather keep your guy than to say, let me look at this, because it shouldn't be taboo. And I don't know for any other race. That's just a cycle that I know that's in my race. And it could be a cultural thing that is not talked about. And so with that, it's just like, you have to find your strength. You have to find your strength to cry it out. I did go to therapy. I went to therapy for a time, and then I was just like, you know what? There has to be some more breaking. And what I mean by breaking is you have to stop looking at yourself as the same woman. And then I started to blog. I started to write. And when I started to just like free myself of that stuff, it's like pain no longer resided there. My truth was out and nobody could say nothing. So now it's like I'm gearing toward organizations like this one to help spread knowledge, because once you are healed, nobody can go back to your past and be like, hey, this happened to you. I know it's out already. I told it. So bye.
You own that. Like you,
Yeah.
you don't have to. You can't hurt me anymore by bringing
Right.
it up.
Right.
Yeah. What do you feel like has been the most beneficial form of healing for you?
Intimacy. I took that back. Intimacy. And people don't think that it's real. It's like you can fade out and not be sexual at all. But once you heal, you get that direct response, and it's like nobody can tell you anything, but you have to allow that to happen naturally. Because most times when I did my research, you'll find that people that are assaulted, they'll throw themselves into promiscuity, they'll throw themselves into stripping or prostitution or things like that. But for me, I closed myself off. I didn't want to do anything. But once I started to heal, I'm like, wait a minute, there's more of another side of the woman that I know that I can be, or that is hiding in here, because you bury yourself in that pain. And I'm gonna be honest, for the longest I used that on like as a wall. Nobody is getting close to me. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And it harmed a lot of relationships that could have had potential, but it wasn't the right path for me. And so I recently got married on the 18th, and it's whom God had planted in my life. And it's a beautiful experience. And it's just when you do stuff and you're impacted, it's just you have to trust the surroundings where you are. And now it's just like I've always been a fearless person. Like nothing scared me up until this point. But I still live my life that way, if that made any sense. Like nothing scared me. Like once I got free and told that, it's like I reverted back to the same person before this happened. But it happened in spurts. Like I can walk down the street and somebody could be like, hey, you're not gonna scare me. Because I know that, okay, I know I'm not a guy or whatever, but I know the power that we have and how we walk with our heads up as being a healed women. Like when you're whole and healed, you don't look down. You look forward, and you also check your surroundings, but you do it in a different behavior. You watch out for the people that are trying to walk up too close to you. You watch out for the people that are kind, but too kind, because people can be snatched. Human trafficking is real. Sexual assault is very buried in common communities. So it's like when you take the focus off of just being a victim and being a survivor, you look at life differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think it's beautiful that you answered intimacy as like the way of healing, because really like taking your power back and being able to enjoy your body again and enjoy that intimacy, that's a really powerful thing, because a lot of people can go a lot of ways, either hypersexuality or not a lot of sexuality after, but being able to regulate that and like find your own power in that is very proud of you. And like Britt Rhodes said, love it, so proud of your growth, sis. So let's see.
Oh yeah, that's one of my sisters in Christ that I do life with. She's so incredible.
Yeah, congratulations on your wedding. Someone else said congratulations as well.
Thank you.
Let's see, is there any advice that you would offer to any other survivors listening today?
Yes. Take pictures of your journey, of yourself. Vlog, but don't post it. That helped me a lot. Like and sit, like you can video journal, because you never know how this is going to open up, whether you share your story privately with a certain group that you may meet in life, or that you take it to the next level to exchange your pain for purpose. You always want to document. You never want to leave behind your story, because why would you?
It's powerful to know how far you've come.
Yeah. And once those things happen, it's like a woman can die with her truth. Oh, I healed, but how? Like we have to, I think it's our duty as survivors to have a lifeline for people. um, even in good and bad, because there could be some things where it's like, why did you say that? Why did it happen? You know? And it's just, you will have those naysayers that be like, well, I wouldn't have shared that, but you're not me.
Yeah, we're different
You're not me.
people.
You
I
don't
found
have,
my power in
yeah,
sharing.
you don't have my diversity. You don't have my strength. You don't know the things that I had to go through to pull out of this place. So I would just say, share your truth when the time is right. Heal wholeheartedly. And once you begin to heal, don't ever go back to that place, because I've done it before. I healed halfway and then sunk back, and it took me a long time to talk about it again. So give yourself time and
Yeah,
date
and that's
yourself. Don't force yourself in a relationship while you're healing, because you will damage somebody else. Been there, done that. Love on you, date yourself just because. That's the advice and be honest. Do not dim your light just because other people may be uncomfortable, because I can say this boldly, no one was there when you got raped. No one was there when you got touched. No one was there to pull you out of that dark space. So however God shows you to deal with that, do it boldly. That's my advice.
absolutely. I love that advice. And yeah, just with what you said about, you healed halfway and then kind of went back. I think that's an important thing to talk about. Like, healing really isn't linear. You can think that made all this progress, and then a day or a week or a month, you kind of go back to your old ways, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that healing didn't happen, but
Mm-hmm.
it means that there's still more work to do, and that healing really isn't linear, and it can be messy, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And get you a circle of friends that are outside of your comfort zone. Don't hang with the same ring of people that are telling you your story makes them uncomfortable. And I keep rerouting to that because I went through that before. People that I thought I could trust, and I'm just like, are you serious? Like, people will make things about them, but you will have some people in your circle that are comfortable how you are, that don't want you to speak out because maybe it happened to them and they don't know how to say it. Because you have some women, they may not have been through something like you, but it almost happened and it probably wrecked them, because there's certain things as pre-assault, like when you're drunk and somebody is trying to take advantage of you, and it can mess with your mind, because you can be a good girl in a dangerous situation at a party. We see that on Lifetime all the time, right? Or in actuality. So it's just like that can mess with somebody's mind and make them an introvert when they were the life of the party or a social butterfly. So just be really careful and passionate. And when I say careful, is because you have to also listen to what's not being said. And as you are breaking free, encourage others too, because you never know whose life you're going to save from suicide or from doing something to somebody else. Because you have women behind bars that literally will go out 20 years later and kill their abuser. We don't need that cycle. We need more healing than, people that are just so aimed to, I need to kill them because of what they did. I understand that pain, but it's not worth the cycle of your freedom. It's not worth the cycle of going through another cycle of abuse, because then you become the abuser.
Um, let's see. What advice would you give to family or friends who have just been told about an experience of sexual violence?
Ooh.
I know you said what not to do, but what
Um,
can you?
so be there. So I can recall my sister noted, one of my older sisters, she noticed changes in me way before the rape. And she pulled me aside and she said, is such and such doing something to you? And I lied because of the stuff he implanted in my head. Now, mind you, I had only known this person that abused me that came in my life for no more than 2 weeks. I've known my sister for 8 years. And you see how that went up here and she went down here because I believed it. So I would say, if someone came out to you and told you that they were sexually assaulted in any magnitude, comfort them and be there for them. Don't hide it and tell them or disencourage them. Just be there for them as much as you can. Don't overly check on them because it's going to freak them out, but just be there. If they need to talk, leave that communication open 24/7, because that's talking is healing too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, let's see. What does the term survivor mean to you?
Standing up and walking, basically. Because when you're laying down, you're broken. Once you stand up, it doesn't matter if you have to crawl to stand up in your posture every day. You stand, you walk, and you talk. And that's just what I've been doing.
Keep going forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're comfortable sharing, what were the highest and lowest points of your healing journey?
Ooh.
You can take some time if you need.
No. I'm healed, so I can talk about it. So, being 12, my mom ended up moving us from Southern California to Northern California, and I ended up heavily abusing marijuana because I could not take the psychological pain of being away from him. It's weird. It's weird because
yeah, it can really mess. Yeah,
it can mess you up. Like, you know it's wrong, but then it's just like you're displaced in your everyday life that was stupid and it shouldn't happen, but it became a dysfunctional routine. And
the
so
trauma is what it's called.
yeah, and so the trauma left me, okay, well, I drunk, and I smoked marijuana, and I did that from 12 to 32 because I couldn't cope. And I
that's a way to numb it. And
and I wouldn't deal with the pain, so everything just became a daily routine. And so I noticed myself, I said, I couldn't do this no more. So I stopped. I went cold turkey and I stopped, but I still didn't deal with the pain. I had to literally rely on baby steps. And when I got to that point where I was just like, someone had invited me to speak, and I was all like, speak about what? Like, I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't like a certain topic, but when I got there, I had no clue of what I was going to say until my mouth opened. And that was the point where I was like, it's time. There's no more maneuvering around it. There's no more just making small videos on YouTube and then taking them down because somebody left a comment, not a rude comment, but, oh, you should speak more. No. But it seemed like when I had that right of ownership to telling my pain, because you have to gain that right in yourself. Because if you don't gain that right in yourself, you'll be all over the place. And what I mean by that is it's healing. It's normalizing your pain. It's not your fault. Because it happened to you, it's not your fault. So you can't sit up here and go through different cycles thinking, oh, I should have did something different. What if I wouldn't have dressed like this? And even when you're a kid, what if I would have never been home? What if I would have been, more active outside or blah? It could have still happened anywhere. And so you have to disallow yourself to stop blaming yourself and just start to accept, okay, this has happened. You have to accept that it happened and not live in denial. Because the hardest truth is that didn't happen to me and I can go on with my life. But then you'll be a fake and you don't know. And then what if you meet like this amazing person that you're not ready for? Because a lot of women don't get, and I have to say that because I experienced that. And I'm not just telling people to jump in relationships. I'm saying you can meet the right person at the wrong time and mess it up. But if you are healing, I want to say this, don't focus on no relationship. Focus on your relationship with yourself. When you're healing, it's not time. Someone said no sound.
I can hear you just fine, so it must be their phone. Yeah. But yeah, with what you're saying about it not being your fault, that's just so important to remember, because so many people struggle with self-blame after assault, and it's just so important to remember, like, it's not your fault. There's nothing you ever could have done to deserve sexual assault, whether you're an adult or whether you're a child. Like, there's nothing you could have done to make it your fault. For the person that can't hear it, try adjusting the volume on your phone, or maybe just exiting and coming back and see if that helps, because I'm able to have the audio, so I'm not sure what is going on there. Let's see. Did you ever consider reporting your assault to like the police or anything, or what was the decision process with that?
When I got older, I did, because like from my understanding, I was young and that didn't cross my mind. But when I got of like older age, maybe like around 19 or 20, I did. But it's like I was still at a place to where I wasn't healing. I wasn't dealing with it. So I didn't want to expose that to anybody else because only my immediate family knew what happened. And so I feel like the statute of limitations is still open. But at that time, he went by an alias, so we never knew his real name.
Oh,
But I heard like through the grapevine what happened to him, so it's his reaping. So
he got his karma.
yeah.
Um, how did the COVID-19 pandemic impact your healing process?
It didn't. I went through my season of healing. So that it didn't. Like I learned how to be more resourceful and even keeping an open mind with working with other people, like your organization and like speaking on it because there's so many women out there that are lost. And so it made me think how many women are trapped with their abusers since we can't have regular normal lives. Like I just recently moved to Chicago. The only thing you can do is work or go home or go to church if you're not fully vaccinated. So just think of the women that are stuck in the house with their abuser or with that. So it's just like we have to be more vocal even in times like this because it's just like not only are people getting raped, assaulted, molested, they're also being emotionally, spiritually, mentally abused, and also by the hand. So it's just like I've never been in those forms necessarily, but it's just like I can only imagine what they go through.
Mm-hmm.
And then people that are waking up not having life anymore because they don't know how to tell their story. So it's just like we should have more forums like this regularly to bring women together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've actually recently started a series based on your suggestion of wanting to do more with the Survivor Connects of like with more people. We just started a series of, just Survivor meetups, just getting to talk about, whatever, whatever you're healing or different things. So that's something that I'm really excited to do more
Yeah.
about. I think our next one will most likely be regarding intimacy. So that's something I'd love to have you join, especially knowing that that's your favorite form of healing. So that's something that, that I'm really excited to hear more about. And if anyone is listening right now and wants to be a part of that, please just go ahead and message us for the Survivor meetups. But before we get to our last question, is there anything else you want to say surrounding sexual violence, assaults, or healing?
Don't ignore the red flags just because you're attracted with your mind and your body or have some type of emotions. Really learn who you're around. For me, when that happened, I used to always watch stories about, what not to do to get back into that place. I know it probably sounds so old school. Never leave nothing open. If you leave it, trash it. Even if you go to the bathroom, take it with you. Don't leave any open containers because so many people, they don't think about that. It's like, oh, I'm with friends, but who's really your friend in an uncomfortable spot? You have to really know people to the point where it's just like you got to safeguard yourself. I'm not saying be, alert to the max to where it's like you can't trust people. I'm just saying if you're in an unfamiliar setting, there's crazy people out there. There's people that do, devious things. So just be more aware of people behaviors, everything. Don't be so quick to go on trips with people that you don't know because you might not come back. And this is just real life.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be so guarded to where you don't appreciate life, but be guarded enough to where you pay attention and you be alert.
Mm-hmm. So we think it would be really powerful to have all of our episodes end with this one question of what does it mean to you to be a voice beyond assault?
Structure. It means structure and not being unbalanced. So I would say structure because structure can go a lot of ways. Even if you're doing little by day, it's going to measure up in time. And you can't rush structure. Once you build that bond in your level of structure, you go further. So that would be my structure.
All right. Well, that was our last question. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and all the advice you have for other survivors and friends and family of survivors. Thank you so much for all your insight. It was lovely talking to you today.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the next conversation.
Yes, Absolutely. I hope you have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.